Good evening. Welcome to the 8th edition of Everybody Gets a Job. Many of you have heard the presentation before in the beginning, and for those of you watching for the first time, the purpose of this workshop series is to present various sectors of the Hamden economy and to talk to young people and parents in particular, but it could be for anybody, about all of the opportunities for good paying jobs. Whether you want to go to college or you don't want to go to college or you're not ready for college, there's a good paying job out there for you. It's really important for the future of Hamden's economic prosperity to make sure that every citizen has a good paying job. So we've had a series of panels. This is number 8, the final one. And we've had a series of panels in areas like healthcare, manufacturing, the trades, STEM, sustainability, and environmental science. And we just had IT a couple weeks ago. And we try to bring different perspectives. Most importantly, we try to bring the private sector perspective on these panels. The process tonight is that each speaker now will have 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes to present, and then what we'll do is take questions and answers, and then we'll leave some time at the very end of the session so that you can speak individually to them, and we find that people like doing that at the very end. So I'm not going to talk too much about each panelist. That you have their bios on your table. They're all impressive in what they do. They bring a different perspective. This program is about job readiness. We've gone through all of the different sectors of the economy. Now it's time to talk about how we get particularly our younger people ready to go. So our first speaker tonight is going to be Lakita Joyner McGraw. It's sort of an old friend of mine now. I've worked with Lakita in her class. She's a professor at Southern Connecticut State University, Hamden resident. Her family's from Hamden. And she has a long, distinguished career in career management, career organization, organizational management, and I won't read all the stuff in her bio. So I'm going to turn it over to her. I've talked to each of the panelists about areas that we want them to cover. So you're up.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. I wish I had this opportunity when I was growing up. And so I know most of you are sitting here, and for some of you, you're probably like, why am I here? And then you may have that question of, how can I use this? And what do I need this? And so put this in your back pocket for later use. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time, because I can talk and I can go on and on and on, because that's what I do for a living. I'm in class every single day and I'm lecturing. And so I want to keep it short and simple so that you can walk away with something. So the reason why you're here, because we want you to have a better education. We want you to have a better life. And so as a professor, I advise students, these are 3 things that you should do in order to use and transfer those skills in the business world. So here are 3 things. If you don't remember anything else today, just remember the 3 things that I'm going to talk about. The first one is having great communication skills. The second one is teamwork. And the third one is problem-solving skills. These are skills that employers are looking for students like you when you enter into the workforce. And so having great communication skills, if you look at any job description, it's going to ask, do you have great communication skills? Teamwork, can you work with others? If you play on a sport, does anyone play a sport or on a part of a team? And so those skills that you can use and transfer that over to the workforce, because that shows an employer that you are used to relying on others and others are used to relying on you. And then problem-solving skills. Can you work effectively by yourself independently, as well as can you depend on others? And if something happens or something arises, you can answer that question effectively. And so how does this look in a classroom setting? Is anyone familiar with the term experiential learning? And so experiential learning is learning by doing. And so I noticed that I have students look like you. Every single day they come into the classroom and they're so used to just memorizing things. And then next semester, if you ask them something about the subject matter, they have no clue because they're so used to just memorizing just for the test. And so I actually, in part of my class, I have experiential learning. So I ask employers I recruit people to come from the outside world to come into my classroom so that by the end of the semester, you're prepared for the real world. And so those three things that I talked about, communication, teamwork, and problem-solving skills, I implement that into my curriculum. And so, for example, my students worked with Target. Is anyone familiar with Target? Have anyone ever shopped there? Yeah, right? It's okay. So I love Target. And when I'm feeling really good, I call it Target. I just love Target. So when you think about Target, and I'm not soliciting Target, but I'm just using that as an example, they actually came up with a problem that my students will have to answer or solve this problem. So they have the entire semester to work on this group project. And from this opportunity, they're looking at it through the lenses of managers. So it's preparing you for management, being leaders. And how many times have we heard that term from our parents? Be a leader, not a follower, right? But we're being told to be a leader, but we don't know how to lead others. And so with this project with Target, I integrated into our curriculum, and it's throughout the semester. And when I say communication skills, at the end of the semester, they have to present this solution that they came up with as a group, in a group setting. I split them up into groups, so that means you're working in a team environment. And then as a team, you're using those problem-solving skills. And so for students, most of them, they walk away with, wow, now I have this opportunity to work with a future employer. Now that kind of build up my confidence. I kind of know what to do, what not to do. Maybe I should, texting someone instead of just calling them up, right? How many times do you have to just call them up instead of texting? And so having that, I always tell students, learning, I'm sorry, what happened?
You have a spider on your shoe.
Oh, no. No.
It's on the floor now.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Climbing into your shoe.
Oh, no. I saw your face.
He's just on the floor. That's right. I'm sorry.
I'm going to move my bag. No. I'm glad you said, because I'm scared of spiders. And thank you. He's gone? Okay. And so with that, that's the first. Thank you. But with Target, one of the things that we learned with students, they were able to walk away with something. And so I want you to leave today really perfecting your communication skills, getting that confidence of having a conversation with talking to adults, and make sure that you're not talking to adults like your friends. So keep in mind slang, things like that will probably be inappropriate in a workplace, right? So then that teamwork. So when you go on an interview, they're going to ask you, give me an example of a time that you work with a team in a team environment. And so for my students, most of my students are full-time, they're full-time, but at the same time, they're also working full-time. And so they may not have a lot of job experience in their field, but they can always revert back to that project that they worked on with Target. And so they can give them examples of communication skills, the team working in a teamwork environment, and then those problem-solving skills. That means for them, they can say, here was the problem, this is the solution, this is what we came up with. And so I don't want to take up all of your time, but I want you guys just to remember today 3 things. I want to be effective with my communication skills, learn how to use problem-solving skills, and then working together as a team. And those are things that you can transfer into the workforce as well as in the classroom setting. Any questions? Hello. Any questions?
We're going to do more questions and answers later. So if you think of any more questions, we're good. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And thank you for telling me about the spider.
I was wondering, that is I've we welcome all guests except spiders. So
I saw your face, so I was like, oh my God.
wow. Okay, so so I'm going to do a little intro for each speaker. So Risa Webb works for Hamden Adult Ed. One of the interesting things that has come out of this whole series is that A lot of people have come up to us afterwards and said, thank you for doing the program. My son or daughter is very interested in it, but they have an older brother, or they have an uncle, or they have somebody else in their family that is very interested in this stuff. So as we go forward, we're going to be working more with other populations. As you know, I don't have to tell you, Hamden's a diverse population, not just in terms of race and ethnicity, but in terms of immigrants, refugees that live here, all kinds of folks, veterans that have needs. A lot of folks have needs. So Hamden has great resources to help all kinds of people. Hamden Adult Ed is one of the great resources. They actually cover regional territory. I won't cover too much of your presentation, but I want to turn it over to Risha to talk a little bit about Hamden Adult Ed as it applies to the folks here and folks you may have at home.
Thank you. So I'm Risa. I'm from Hamden Adult Ed. I've been working there for about 8 years. Before that, I worked for the stock market as a computer programmer, so I'm not a public speaker. So bear with me, please. Thank you. So Hamden has a collaboration with North Haven and Amity, which is Bethany, Woodbridge, and Orange. So we service clients from all those areas. We have things for adults who do not have their high school diploma and need a high school diploma to continue on with the job that they have or to get a better job. We have ESL classes for those who are not from this country and need to perfect their English. And we also have some classes geared basically right towards resume writing and interviewing skills and a lot of soft skills that people need for interviewing for jobs. Along with that, we offer a bunch of career path certification classes in the healthcare field, in the food service field, security officer training, bartending. We have just a whole bunch, and I've handed out some of that stuff to you. And if you are Hamden residents, you usually get a catalog in the mail, and that we put together with all different types of classes that we offer. We also offered specific classes just like learning how to speak Spanish. That might help somebody on the job. They might have other coworkers that they need to speak Spanish, so you can take some Spanish classes. We offer a bunch of online opportunities as well for either career development or as part of our high school completion programs. And that's all I have to say. Is that good? Yeah.
Hold on, I'm catching up.
I'm sorry.
So as Victoria takes a breath, it's just, I knew it would be trouble for some people to find this location today. So I was very impressed with Victoria. Part of also what her resume and bio, part of what we're trying to accomplish also in this series is to create sort of an education continuum, or ecosystem is the word that people use these days. Our Board of Ed and I spend a lot of time talking about the relationship of economic development and wealth development and economic sustainability, all the terminology that you use, and the afterwards. And we're developing lots of different relationships. As you see, we have somebody from Southern Connecticut State University. We've had Quinnipiac here. Gateway's been on a couple panels. Victoria Dancy's resume is impressive, particularly in the area of leadership. Done a lot of work with workforce development. She has been involved with Gateway a long time. Her title, I wanted to take out the interim part, but I figured that might be politically incorrect or whatever. You can address that issue. Yeah, all right. So I'll just leave it there. Turn the mic over to Victoria Dancy from Gateway Community College.
Thank you. I want to apologize for my tardiness. I couldn't find the place, but I actually just left Anthony's Ocean View, where they were hosting, I think it's the 79th New Haven Manufacturers annual meeting, and the keynote speaker was Governor Ned Lamont, and it was just great to see so many businesses that were representing their companies, and I'm quite sure you all know how Governor Ned Lamont got started. He was his own business owner, so He was hosting the event tonight. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we're doing at Gateway Community College. And when he talked about leadership, this is one of the instructors in the leadership program that I just completed with the Chamber of Commerce. So it's good to see you. And so a little bit of what we do is basically we share the wealth in terms of providing educational opportunities and employment opportunities for students. We share the wealth with Southern and as well as Hamden adult education. And so a lot of what we do is we work not only just with New Haven residents, but we work within the regions to provide pathways for students. Now, one of the interesting things about Gateway Community College, there's two sides of the house. So we have the non-credit side and the credit side, and we realize that college is, may not be your first choice. So we actually create programs that are pathways for students that are looking for, I'm not going to say a quick and a fast way, but they're looking for opportunities to earn a skilled credential that will make them employable so they can actually, go into the workplace. And then the hope is that they'll find their passion and they'll connect back to the college doors. And so we really work hard at keeping our ears and a pulse on what the industry is really looking for. For example, we know that Connecticut has really been struggling in terms of economic development. So the government, before Governor Malloy left, there was a really great opportunity. Some federal dollars came in the tune of, I believe, $32 million to really help resurrect the manufacturing industry. And so the key people were projecting that in another 5 years, there's not going to be enough skilled workers in these jobs to do the job. So there's a couple of key players, the Workforce Alliance, and some of the colleges got together and said, we have to do something. We have to provide training that's going to give these students or these people, the fundamentals that they will need to actually enter into these jobs. And so I'm proud to say that we are actually graduating our third cohort. And one of the great things about it is that we have people that are working in the industry, such as Pratt & Whitney and Sikorsky, that are the instructors in these programs. So these students are actually not just earning a credential and an apprenticeship, but they actually have first dibs on, interviewing with these employers before they even leave the program. So we've been working on programs that are really going to help, catapult, individuals right into the workplace. That's going to give them a very sound credential. And just to piggyback off of what she stated, the way the program and the programs and the curriculums are designed is to, provide those soft skills, because most employers are looking for the soft skills. That's the hard skills are you can get that, but it's the soft skills that really will make or break, whether you're going to be successful in a particular career or skill set. So we're working hard. We do a lot of the programs in healthcare, security, food services, and we're really, really focusing on manufacturing. And as I stated before, a lot of our programs are actually pathways to our credit programs. For example, we have a CNA program, and most students that are interested in our 2-year RN associate's degree in nursing, they'll actually take the get engaged in the CNA program once they've actually completed and they're ready to work. Then they're working in the field, they're earning, and they're getting exposed to what the field is all about. And then most students will come back and register and become, they'll select to enter the nursing program. And so we're really excited about the programs that we're creating. We want them to be very relative to what the industry needs are. We don't want to just create programs just to be creating programs, because we want young people to get jobs, but not most importantly, not get jobs, but actually kind of find a passion and maybe, start a career path. And these programs that we've created really helps to give them exposure to those pathways.
Thanks, Victoria. Without mentioning names, this whole 8-part series was inspired by somebody in my family. The next speaker knows who that person is and work with that person. It's one of my children who could not figure out what to do, still figuring out what to do, not ready for college, may never be ready for college. He's in a certificate program up in East Hartford at Goodwin College in a skill that might inspire him to go into engineering. And, not everybody's ready at the same time, and it's a fantasy to think that all the kids are ready to go. And to the credit of our local Board of Education, this series has been, got a little pushback here and there from people who say, our kids need to go to college. And I said, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I know one thing. When my toilet overflows, I'm really happy to see the plumber. And I am willing to pay $200 for them to fix that problem. So there's a role for everybody in this local economy. We hope that all kids go to college and get a great job, but the idea is that, everybody develops in a different way. So once they get towards the end of their career in public education, they need to start getting some help thinking about their future. And what better person to help them with that than my friend Hans Hansen? I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, if I don't really need this, I just assume put this off to the side. Do I need to have this? The video? Okay. First of all, a couple things. Welcome to all of you. And hey, look, congratulations for getting up and leaving your house and coming in and doing this, because it's a beautiful night out. And you could have just as easily stayed at home and not done this, right? You could have just easily stayed at home, right? Probably would have rather stayed at home. But here you are. So you took a big step. So congratulations for doing that. And what a fabulous panel here. So good to see you. Nice to meet you all. We've chatted before a few times. And I'm going to mention, follow up on a couple of things that have been said here. And, of course, congratulations to the incomparable Dale crew, who you can show up tonight and see that things might be pretty well done and pretty well planned. But I can tell you 6 or 7 or 8 months ago, Dale spent hours deliberating with himself on how to do this and what can we do in the Hamden community and what are the needs. And so I applaud you for doing this 8-part series. Dale has a lot more things in mind for later in the year and next year, so that's really great. Good job, Dale. All right, now, a couple things before I kind of get rolling here. So a couple things that have been said. There's a common theme so far. We heard about communication skills. We heard about soft skills. Everybody understand what that means? Okay. Because I love that. Why do I love that? Because you and everybody in here, you're in control of that. There's not an outside circumstance that would prevent that from happening. You are in control. I teach people how to take ownership of your own life. I would teach you to draw a circle right around your feet and learn how to say, I own this space. I'm in control of me. Because as soon as you can take control of me, then you don't subject yourself to that outside world of circumstance. That makes sense? And in a little bit of a nutshell, all of you kind of talked about that a little bit. See, you don't have to go to college to have a good life. But we want you to have a good life. And to have a good life, you have to do certain things. So we live in a society, I gave a handout so you can see some of my notes on here, but I gave that to you so that you could follow along a little bit and you can take something home. But we live in a society that most people feel has become quite impersonal, right? However, there is a segment of life, everyday life, that is more personal than ever. And that is college preparedness and job readiness. And that's kind of one of the themes here tonight. College preparedness and job readiness. The beautiful thing about these topics is you're in control of all of it. You're in control of how it all materializes. Now, what I would like to just do, I have 5 pairs of words. You can see them at the bottom on page 1. I love these words. I'm going to just jump into them quickly, and you'll see why I like them. The first one, preparedness and readiness. We just discussed that. Whose job is that? To be prepared and ready. We live in a society in which very few people wake up prepared or ready for the day. You know what I have to teach people? To get out of bed and spend 5 minutes with themselves. Not jump out of bed, roll out of bed, and be doing all this. Spend 5 minutes with yourself and just think about the day ahead. And think about what your priorities are in the day ahead. That's preparedness. Readiness is being ready to take action. You can be shy and bashful. Guess what? I'm shy and bashful. By the way, just saying. But when the time comes to meet somebody that might be important to you, you got to flip the switch. I teach people, do this. Actually do this. This is not this is an actual thing. Flip it on your head. I'm ready to go. That's what I want you to do. You can be like this. When the bell rings, I'm ready to go. That's being ready, right? You have control over that. Now, the next 2 words, personalize and validate. The key to winning anything, college acceptances, job offers, the key to winning anything is to personalize the applicant. You can't hide anywhere. You can't hide at home. You can't hide behind a phone. You can't just hit a submit button and think electronically you're going to achieve your goals. You have to personalize it. How many times do we all hear, Dale, you probably hear it all the time, people saying, there are no jobs out there, I'm doing everything I can do. I go, you are? Yeah, I applied to 3 jobs yesterday, I applied to 3 last week. What do you mean you applied? You went online and you clicked and hit a submit button. You can't tell me you're doing everything that you can do. Where's your resume? What are you doing to get out and meet people? Oh, I'm not doing any of that. Okay. So, personalize. You have to personalize the process. Validate. I love this word. Validate. You want to meet somebody? I'm going to give you the 3 secrets to building a meaningful relationship. First of all, you have to validate yourself. Right? You know how to validate yourself? Hi, my name is Hans Hansen. How are you doing? Oh, good. So you look at them in the face, you give them a good handshake, right? You're validating yourself. You're telling people, I count. I count. I matter. That's what you're doing when you meet somebody like that. You have to validate yourself. Secondly, second step, is you establish your credentials. So you talked about skill credentials. I love skill credentials. You have to validate your credentials. I mean, there has to be a purpose for why you were there, right? You have to validate your credentials. That's easy for everybody to do, right? Pretty easy. That's the standard procedure. Well, step 3 is what 99% of America misses out on. To build meaningful relationships, number 1, validate yourself. Number 2, establish your credentials. And number 3, validate the other person. And when you get into a habit of validating the other person, you can validate the other person when you go to the grocery store and you check out. You know what I do every time, without fail, every single time? I look at their name tag and I call them by name. How are you doing, Suzette? Whatever the name is. And you know what you just did? You just validated them. And you turn that into a daily habit of validating others. Make sense? Easy to do? You have total control over this. All right. The third pair of words, credibility and relevance. And so I loved Lakita's skill credentials. Victoria talked about skill credentials, right? Yeah. So you have to have some credentials. You have to have credibility. Right? You got to have that. And then the goal in life is to be relevant. Right? Don't you want to be relevant? Do you know how long? You know what Dale's greatest fear is? If he doesn't stay ahead of the curve, he can become irrelevant in 3 months' time. Am I right? We could all become irrelevant in no time. 3 months. So we have to remain relevant. Credibility, we build credentials, we build skills, and we maintain our relevance. We have to wake up every day and go, what can I do today to maintain my relevance? Okay. Contemporary and progressive. The flat out 2 words, keys to success in today's world. You have to be contemporary, which means you have a current mindset. This is not 2015 anymore, or 2005, or 1995, right? You might as well say it's 2020, right? Wouldn't you say? I mean, it's right here. We're on the cusp of being 2020. You have to be contemporary in your mindset, using contemporary tools and resources. Progressive means you have a progressive, future-oriented mindset. You're looking ahead to the future. The beautiful thing in life today is you can look ahead to the year 2025 and get an idea of what kind of jobs are going to be available, right? So what I did on page 2 here is I gave you a list. Well, page 2 is a list of questions. I want everybody to just go home in the next month, get together with friends and family and answer these questions. This is part of becoming knowledgeable and aware. But page 3, in the top half, are the types of growth jobs today that pay well. And the bottom half are the academic studies that prepare and qualify you for these jobs. So go home and spend some time understanding opportunities ahead, right? That is being progressive. Preparing yourself for the jobs that are going to be needed 5 years from now. Dale, what's the statistic? Like 25% of today's jobs will be obsolete in 10 years or something like that? So we don't want to be prepared for a job that's going to be gone and replaced by technology or robotics or whatever. We want to be preparing for the jobs of the future. Okay, so that's progressive. And the last thing is vision and awareness. So page 2 is designed to enhance your awareness. But in the end, a result of life, you have to have a vision. And if you wake up in the morning, you don't have a vision, and you don't have a vision for yourself, and you don't have a vision for your life, then you do become a follower. So when we talk about leadership, you can't be a leader if you don't have a vision for the future. And having a vision for the future means that you can see what hasn't happened yet. right? You can see what hasn't happened yet. Well, you can make a lot of money in this world if you can see what hasn't happened yet. Okay. So on that note, what I like about all of it is it's all a mindset, and you have complete control over that. Thank you.
The only thing missing was drop the mic. And Hans is absolutely right. In terms of thinking forward, once you start to think creatively and think about the future, it's really, you get really excited about it. I feel like I need to reinvent what I'm doing all the time. While you're sleeping, I'm trying to reinvent what I'm thinking. This whole series came out at 3 o'clock in the morning, thinking about all these workforce development programs that are going on all over the place, and they're all important. But they tend to focus more on the folks that already are, top-level students, all A students, all going into PhD programs and, advanced manufacturing. And there's the other 95% of the population, and that's the piece that was missing. So we go from here. And what he said about the future is true. At the IT workshop, Bill Villano talked about the fact that it's something like there's 7 million less manufacturing jobs than there were 20 years ago, but they have twice as much manufacturing. And he was talking about robotics. You were at that one. So there's lots of reasons to think ahead and to stay ahead. So I hope you enjoyed the presentations. Now it's time for some questions and answers. I know there's some questions and answers out there for this panel. Yes, sir. So the question was, repeat the question.
Sorry, yeah, the question was, do you have to be out of high school to take the ServSafe? No, you just have to be 16 or over to take the ServSafe and be certified.
Speak out the questions because we can't put the camera on you without your release. So what other questions do we have? I know that there's collaboration between Southern and Gateway in some of the programs. Maybe one of you can address some of the areas where you're working together.
So we actually have articulation agreements with all of the state system colleges. So we all work under the Board of Regents. So for any student that, it doesn't matter what door you enter in, whether you enter in through the community college or through the four-year system, we have collaborative programming that will take place. We have GAP program, which is a guaranteed advanced placement. So if you did decide that you were looking for a credit program, the key is you do 1 year to complete all of your core requirements at the community level, and then you advance to one of the sister schools. And I'd like to mention also, in terms of progression, there's a lot of online learning, and Charter Oak, which is our fifth fifth five-year force. It's one of the 5 4-year schools, and they offer total online learning. So if you're one of those online students and you're really interested in achieving your credentials online, we actually have amazing programs, cybersecurity. We have some really, really advanced programs. So.
Well, one of the things I've noticed with students who have transferred over from Gateway to Southern, it's an easy process, I should say. And I often tell students, why not go to Gateway? You can get your education. You have really great professors that are at Gateway that also oftentimes teach at Southern as well. But you actually get it at a lower cost. So why not, if you want to save money, go to Gateway for your first 2 years, right? Is it a year, 2 years? 2 years. And then transfer over to Southern, and you have already met most of your requirements and kind of transition into the 4-year college, and you will only have 2 more years to go. And so you will, in 4 years, you will also have an associate degree and a bachelor's degree. So I think it's a great opportunity for students who are looking for that cost-effective, thinking about, I don't want to take out a lot of loans. So think of it that way. They're making it so easy for students to just transfer. Many, many years ago, it was kind of hard to transfer from the community college to the four-year college. They actually have a team that's set up just specifically for gateway transfer students. So if you're looking at transferring over, look into it. And it's all about what works for you. So everyone goes a different route. For some students, they will go the 2-year and then transfer into the 4-year college, or for some, just go straight into the 4-year college. So think about it. There's a lot of options out there. Just do your homework.
And you know what, just to follow up on that, I know I started at Gateway in 2011, and, you know, there's been a big myth out there about, you know, community college. It's watered down. It's you know, Nikita can tell you, she teaches there, I adjunct there. I think community college is a great place for students to build their confidence in their GPA. And, you know, the economic piece is, you know, you save so much. So parents, if you're, you know, concerned, I know our kids, as a parent, I wear this parent hat, and I tell my son every day, you're going to Gateway. You can go to Naugatuck, Gateway, or Capital. You can travel up to Hartford, but you're gonna start here. You're gonna build, you know, the confidence and the GPA that you need to actually transition you into the 4-year school. And it's really a great opportunity. Oh,
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm good. I'll add something to that then. I don't mind that. All right, as long as,
Is it easy to transfer those credits at community college to a four-year school in another state?
Yes, I'm happy to say that the articulation agreements, we have not just with our sister schools that are in the system, but we have articulation agreements with mostly all of the private colleges in this state. So we work really hard with, you know, not just our admissions process, but admissions processes across the collegiate, you know, board to make sure the core classes that students are taking at one college will be transferable to all other colleges. So we have students that, actually, we have a student that literally just graduated from Gateway, and he's getting accepted to Columbia. Go figure. Now, you know, Columbia is top tier, you know, school. He's going from Gateway to Columbia, and of course his grades were good, and he had 2 years to really, you know, focus on, you know, getting good grades, and he's on his way to Columbia, and he's going to do 2 years there.
okay, so I'd just like to add a quick comment. Number one, I just worked with a student at Suffolk Community College down in Long Island who's on her way to Cornell.
Oh.
So see, it's the same kind of thing. The fourth pair of words that I have, they're contemporary and progressive. Let me share this with everybody because I work with schools around the country. Gateway is perhaps the most contemporary and progressive community college in the country. In the country. And it's right here in your backyard. What she's talking about doing is not the standard across this country. It is the standard right here with Gateway. Thank you. You're doing a fabulous job.
Thank you.
So the series for the kids and for the young people and anybody else that needs a good paying job is about getting a job and being prepared for it. But again, the macro kind of 40,000 feet in the air look at this is that we have to build economic prosperity in Hamden so we can pay our bills. We can have tax revenue. We can have people engaged in the real estate community, buying, selling houses, raising families, and taking the next generation. Running for office. I know sometimes people have a disdain for politics, but somebody's got to have the position. Somebody's got to be on our commission. Somebody's got to run our civic infrastructure in our community. So having a lot of debt, which is where you're going a little bit with this, is really a problem for people with $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 worth of debt. It's $4,000 a year at Gateway, something like that, $4,000 to $5,000 a year. And my daughter, who graduated from college, she had a bargain in her school in Boston at $50,000 a year. And she got some scholarship money. But the point is that if you have a lot of debt, it's hard to be prosperous at a younger age. Okay, so this is another thing for the whole town of Hamden's sake, that we need to have our young people engaged in jobs where they don't have to spend all their money paying back big loans. Other questions? The question for the viewing audience is, what are soft skills? And from the experience of the speakers, you each get to list 2 or 3.
Okay. Soft
And you can repeat the other one.
Well, soft skills typically are skills that maybe you just wouldn't learn in the classroom setting, right? And so I tell students all the time, interpersonal skills, interpersonal communication, being able to communicate your thoughts, your ideas. There is a generation gap. So when most students who enter into the workforce, you're probably going to work with people that are close to your parents' age. And so what they're looking for, having those skills, like you said, saying good morning, and just being friendly, being nice. Those are some skills that will take you a long way. Have you ever worked with someone and said, how do they get that job? They don't know anything about this position. I can do their job. Well, because they have soft skills, and those soft skills, and you may think of them as people skills, being able to relate to people. And so make sure that when you are in the workforce, start practicing those people skills, those soft skills of being friendly. It's okay, making that eye contact. I know that this is a generation of technology. This generation have been embedded and have basically raised with technology, and so they do their best work. And this is the brightest generation. And because of that, when you go into the workforce, you have to realize that you cannot spend all of your time with your head down, and you have to learn how to make those eye contacts. So get used to talking to people, like you have said earlier, of making that eye contact, shaking hands. Those are some skills that learning how to shake someone's hand when you first meet them. So when I think of soft skills, think of interpersonal skills, think of those communication skills, think of just being friendly and nice, just saying thank you. Those things that your parents have taught you, and sometimes you forget about using them. It will go, sometimes just with a promotion, you're typically going to go with the person who people can work with. So think of ways of even if you're a shy person, how can I get out of that shyness, or just learning how to work around my shyness. Like some people I'm very shy, but you can still be effective and you can still be a leader being shy as well, but just learn how to, like she said, opening up the door, saying thank you, making that eye contact. Just get comfortable making eye contact with people. That's the number one thing, and that will take you a long way in shaking someone's hand.
Some of the other things that I think of is most young people, including my children, are constantly on their phones. And so to have the contact of talking instead of texting someone, that is one important skill that I think, and to always talk, because they'll say LOL and they'll say BRB. And so what does that mean? No, I'll be right back, okay? So those are a few things that I can think of.
Two that comes to mind, and I've realized this in reading papers, is that everything is abbreviated. So I think, this generation, they communicate, the way they talk via text. So there's, in our College 101, there's 2 things that we focus on, is conflict resolution, how to manage conflict. and one of the things that I think even for adults sometimes it's, workplace conflict. What happens when you're working with a difficult coworker or you're the individual that may have a conflict? How do you resolve that? And then there's a term that we use, netiquette. So netiquette rhymes with etiquette. So netiquette is the proper and correct way to communicate. So when, students are, sending emails out or even communicating with their employers to say, I will not be in today. You don't shoot your, if that's the formal way of notifying your supervisor, but you place a call to your supervisor. So we teach students how to communicate in an effective way. You never send your supervisor an email with the explanation, like I'm, yeah, the caps. I'm not coming in today. Like, whoa, when the reader reads that, so it's really just teaching them, and then the work ethics. Being, honest and transparent and being accountable, showing up on time. So we try to really, being honest, being accountable, showing up on time. And that's, we have students that are now completing our business office certificate. And so what we do is once they've completed the training piece, we place them right in Gateway. And so we give them the on-the-job shadowing right in the college. So they're learning all about the business practices in the college. And so it's interesting, sometimes, if you get a student, because students are our customers, they come in and they need information, how to handle that, or if someone's upset and it's just showing up on time. Maybe, the supervisor is not always there when you check in, but are you going to be honest and put on your time card, the right time that you came in? So the soft skills are all of those things that really, really are lacking in some ways.
All right. That's all great stuff. All right, I got two quick things to add. My two words, interact and engage. So let's just have a couple examples, right? You all have examples at the bottom of the handout. How are you doing? I'm fine. What's going on these days? Nothing much. Now, don't we all hear that? You can hear it 100 times a day if you're out and about. So when Victoria says that everything is abbreviated, that's abbreviating the interaction. It's like saying to that other person, I'm not interested. And so these are just little things, but they all add up. And they're all habits. And right up at the top, I love this, Aristotle. Has anybody heard of Aristotle? You young fellas and girls hear of Aristotle? Excellence is not an act, it's a habit. We want to create these daily habits from the minute we wake up. Thank you very much.
You know what? I just want to say something. I'm learning every day because I have a teenager, at home, so I learn a lot of terms. And so, whenever we communicate, and I had to correct him, he'll say, yeah, Mom, yeah, uh-huh. And so it's really important that you are communicating effectively. So there's a term out there called code switch. So you got to learn how to, code switch. So for the young people, they speak this different language and, things that I wouldn't even know how to, decipher. And I said to him, you really have to get into the habit of speaking, proper. You really know you need to know how to communicate effectively and in a proper manner, because you can get into the habit where you're saying yeah all the time, and sometimes you don't realize what it sounds like. So just as he stated, if he asks someone, how you doing today, and they say, all right, yeah, no, it's yes. I'm doing fine today, with a follow-up question. I'm doing well today. And yes, I would like some cake. Yes, I would like that. And so it's really, really good to get into a habit of not speaking jargon in the workplace for that much. You know, it's really good practice to get away from all of that talk that's kind of out in your age range. Does that make sense? You know, I know, and I get it all the time. You guys might know this. There's an abbreviation. So I'll text my son, and he'll say, "All right," instead of spelling the word, it's IJT. Do you guys do it? Huh? Yeah. Do you guys do that?
What is IJT?
You know what I'm talking? Okay, good. Woo. I'm glad I'm not the only mother. So I would say to him, "What is this?" And he said, "Mom, it's an abbreviation for all right." And I said, "No, we have to do better than that. You have to spell the word out." So I make a joke of it, but it's really because this is what's being written in the papers that we see that come across our desk. So just practice makes perfect.
One thing I'd like to add to that is that there's sort of when you definitely develop these good personal skills and communication skills, it has to translate to other parts of your academic life. Writing. So if you text your whole life, like, you know, I have a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old. The 23-year-old less so, but not that long ago, she did that all the time. You're going to write like that, and that will not work in the workplace. That will not work on an essay for your college entry. You have to learn how to write properly, and that's like a basic thing. And Hamden Adult Ed, you could probably learn how to write properly. But that laziness will translate to other parts of your life if you're not careful. I want to go to personal skills point 2.0, something that Hans was talking about before. Validating the other person. It's part of your interpersonal. Yes, handshake, direct eye contact, all of it's important. But validating the other person will get you really far. Whenever I have interns or fellows, we have 2 fellows from Quinnipiac University in my office for the summer, I give them always the same gift at the end of the summer. I give them 2 books. Who Stole My Cheese, which is a classic in out-of-the-box thinking. It's a story about these mice looking for cheese. And you're like, what the heck does that mean? But if you read the book, you'd understand it. And then I give them a book that was written in 1936, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So if you read that book, I usually order like 10 copies of each, so I have them with me. So if I have students for the summer or period of time, I give them the same books every time because I want them to think creatively. And I also want them to learn how to be good listeners. Use the ears instead of the mouth or their thumbs. So this validation of other people, I probably shouldn't tell this story because it's a little bit out of school. One time I went to a wedding, and I didn't want to go to the wedding. I just didn't want to be there. But I said, you know what? I'm going to make the best of this. And I sat next to some guy I didn't know, and I decided I was going to make him my best friend. And I was the best active listener in the history of the world. I validated him so much. By the end of the wedding, he was slapping me on the back. He was, he wanted to move in with me, I think. But the point is, you can do a lot by just getting really interested in the other person and ask them basic questions, follow-ups, something they're wearing. I mean, it's a very basic thing. It's a very, very powerful thing when you're developing relationships, especially in the interview process. The last thing I'm going to say before we have the last question is that for the grown-ups watching this program, anytime you have a chance to mentor somebody in any of these skill areas to help them, whether you're a supervisor, we have interns for the summer, and you have a chance to help anybody with a soft skill or time management or any aspect that makes them successful. For the grown-ups or anybody in a position of supervision, please do it because kids, young people, people that need direction could always use another mentor. You can never have too many mentors. All my mentors came by surprise. I didn't know, for some reason I met somebody and they were impactful in my life. So for the adults, in any of these things that we've talked about over the eight panel series, be a mentor even for 5 minutes. Any more? I'll take one more question and then we're going to stop tonight's session so I can give you some time. We have to be out of the room a few minutes before 8. Any more questions? Going once, going twice. So the last thing I'll say is for those of you who have been to as many panels as you've been to, thank you so much for coming. Some of you have been, some of the younger people have been to a couple. This is a really important first step, We plan to take all of the videos that are coming out. Rob has done 7. I would like to thank Rob Arado from Rob Arado Productions for all the videos that he's done. I just saw number 7 today for the first time on IT. It was really interesting, and this one will be up. We are building a web page as part of my website. We will get information to you so you can watch all the videos. And then I'm going to be sending you all a survey. We'll do a Survey Monkey basic survey, talk about what you think could be good next steps going forward for workforce development starting in the fall of 2019. We'll take the summer off. I think I'm done with planning things for a while. And we'll move into some other drill down exercises in workforce development. So I thank you very much. Thanks for coming to the series, and feel free to talk to the panelists.